So what happened with the Audi S4? So in the last update video of the Audi S4, I pretty much discussed that the transmission was missing the valve body, which is why the car couldn't go into gear, and it's also causing a couple of other issues. So what I did was I bought a new transmission from eBay that had the valve body inside the transmission, and we pretty much went through the process of installing a completely new transmission. So once I found out that my transmission was missing the valve body, or Medtronic is what I later learned it was called, I decided to, instead of buying a whole new valve body, which is a pretty penny to kind of buy and install, I decided to get a whole new DSG transmission. And lucky for me, I was able to get in contact with Kachi's Auto Repair. He let me kind of sit in and watch the whole installation process, which was really cool. So the whole thing took about, it was probably like a 4-day ordeal.
Well, up again, bright and early. Today we're putting the transmission into the S4, so hopefully everything goes smoothly. And we're running 4 different tires on this car. We got Michelin in the front. We got Pirelli P7 on the right, left. The rear right, rear left. I'm not sure what these are. Drive guard tires. And then Michelin in the front again.
And what you don't realize about the DSG transmission, as this is a all-wheel drive quattro car, is that the transmission is actually gigantic. The whole DSG transmission is about 4 feet, and comparing that to another transmission, just a regular transmission, which is about maybe 2 feet at most, you can see that the DSG is a pretty peculiar and, let's say, a special type of transmission. So after getting the car in the air and kind of figuring out how we're gonna get the transmission out, we also realized that the starter was bad, which is another issue that I was dealing with when we got the car in the first place. So also needed a new starter. I'll address that later in the video of how we acquired that starter. And then another thing that I wanted to point out was that the exhaust setup was the exact same as my old Mercedes-Benz C300 W204 from same year, 2011. Dual muffler to resonator to dual secondary cats to primary cats. So about the same thing. It was just cool. It was just a cool thing to see again. So when removing the DSG transmission, I recommends to actually take off the whole front bumper, axles, wheels, and a bunch of other assortment of items to actually get to the transmission. But what I found on YouTube was another dude, I can't remember his name right now, but I'll definitely link the video in the description below. They decided to actually angle the transmission down and then take it out at a whole angle, which is exactly what we did in this video here.
This is gonna drop down, pull it back, and it's gonna clear everything and put the same one, then put the new one in the same way. Goes in like that, level up like that, rebolt, reconnect, put some fluid in there, see this thing start up.
And then the same thing goes forward when reinstalling transmission. You put it in at an angle, push it up until it's level, and you're good.
Also got to get a new starter for the car. Well, we're not entirely sure, but I have a starter on the way. Starter is up here on the left side. So we're gonna pull the starter out, put a 12-volt battery to it, and see if it'll spin a little bit. Because to get a new starter on short notice is about $400. But you can order it from like Germany somewhere, $200. It'll just take about a week, 2 weeks to ship. It's the only problem. I don't have much time.
So as we proceeded to take the transmission out, we kept finding more and more things that were kind of wrong with the car. So the first thing we noticed was the starter, of course. Had to get that sorted out at some point. And the next thing was the control arms. The bushings on the control arms were actually rotting away, and as you can see in the video, pretty much just worn out. So the bushings on the control arms were not a major importance to me in getting the car running and operational, but later down the line, I realized that it definitely will be an issue if the car does get running. So we'll take care of that later in the video also. So right here, we finally got the transmission out pretty much. It took about 2 days to get everything kind of measured, sorted out, and then finally dropped it out. So the emotions you have when kind of restoring a car, especially an Audi, a German car from 2011, it's a roller coaster of emotions. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're at rock bottom, because it is very expensive to do anything on this car. And as I said before, as we kept going, more and more issues were pretty much popping up. Starters, control arms, even engine mounts. I have to address that pretty much later.
And I just want to say how ridiculous the prices is for the parts on this car. Like the one most outlandish thing that they try to sell me at Audi. Shout out to the employees at Audi. They are so cool. They help you out. It's just like the prices are just killing me, man. But let me show you this right here. The rear view mirror, that thing is barely on there right now. It's hold on, my some other stuff, but to replace that whole rear view mirror, it's $1,100. No labor, just replacing that part itself is $1,100. Absolutely ridiculous. Along with those control arms, like I said before, $200 a piece. Bumper clips, $150 for the set. I think the most affordable thing that they had there was the hood strut. That was about $105, I believe. That seems reasonable for a hood strut. I mean, I was trying to get it cheaper somewhere. I'm sure that's overpriced, but $103 for one hood strut seemed like the most reasonable thing to me. So I don't know.
And the main problem we started having with this, with the installation, was that the more parts I needed, the more days we had to push out putting the transmission in, pretty much. And the starter was another thing. So the starter, it would take about almost a week to ship that out to us. But things just kept on kind of piling up. But luckily for me, I was able to tackle two of these issues pretty quickly, actually. The control arms and the starter. I actually found on eBay a starter that I could come and pick up myself from a place called Import Salvage Yard. Now, when I say these guys were lifesavers, they literally were lifesavers. So the reason I found Import Salvage Yard is because I was actually looking for a starter, a used starter on eBay, obviously, because a new starter is like $300+, and this is a very tight budget for this car. So I found a new one on eBay for about 75. It was definitely below $100. I think around $75 total for the starter. Import Salvage Yard. They let me come in. We went out to the actual lot to see a bunch of pretty much salvage title vehicles, German vehicles specifically. So Audis, BMWs, all types of cool cars out there. And it's like a candy store is how I describe it. Any part you need is just out there somewhere laying around. And they pulled my starter off of an Audi, I believe, S5 at first. So they already had it ready for me, and I said, well, since you have the starter, I also asked about the control arms, which I did not plan on replacing at first. But since I'm out there and the prices were so good, I decided to actually go and check it out. They allowed me to go out into the lot. They told me exactly where the car was. It was off of an Audi S5.
All right, so we're currently out in a part yard looking for these control arms. All right, here go the control arms I'm looking for. Gotta see if they're decent or not. 1, 2, 3, 4. They look better than the ones I have for sure. So yeah, I guess I'll get all 4 of these and I should be good.
And those control arms look much better, so I bought the whole set of those. I had a guy come out there, he took them off the suspension component for me really quickly, and then just like that, I was back at the checkout section and paying about, I want to say $25 to $30 for the control arms. It was very reasonably priced. Not sure. I'll put the actual prices on the screen of what they are, but I believe they're for a brand new control arm from Audi. It's around $150 or something like that. It might even be higher than that or lower depending on when I check it again. But definitely a better price than what Audi was offering. And they looked to be in pretty good condition, so I couldn't beat that. And I just want to say big shout out to Import Salvage Yard. If you're in the, I believe, Nevada, Texas area, or Texas area in general, check out Import Salvage Yard. They have everything you need for your German vehicles, imported vehicles. They have everything you need out there for a very, very good price. So I'll definitely be back.
All right, seems like a good time for an update. See all the inner workings up here. 2 cats. Kind of want to take those off, or at least start it up and see how it sounds. But so we took out the starter. It goes somewhere up in here. Let's find the alternator. Yep, sits somewhere right in this area. Out here. This is the old transmission. About to jack the new one up and put it in the car. These are also the These are the new control arms right here. You know, it's a big difference when I showed the original one. So this rubber bushing right here, completely intact for all four. These are the ones that came with the car. As you see, they're kind of torn up. The bushings are all worn down for all four of them. Audi will charge about $200 for all of these parts. $200 per, 220, 20, 200. Let's get these from the Audi dealership. And the starter was at about $440 from Audi, maybe $600. These new tires. This is a Pirelli P7 on the back. The only Pirelli on the whole car.
So in the next scene, you're gonna see us pretty much getting the vehicle back together, transmission, and kind of just putting stuff back where it's supposed to be.
Alright, so the car is almost completely back together. Got the drive shaft in. Transmission now going up. All the wheels going back on. Got plugged in a few wires. But yeah, the job's almost done. And just went and picked up some transmission fluid. 7 liters. Filter and an O-ring. I believe the ring that I bought, that rubber ring right there, was $10. I didn't think about it till now, but I probably should have with the AutoZone found that same size, because $10 is ridiculous for that ring. But this is all from Audi. They had everything in stock for me. No one else did, so I had to go with Audi. Still can't beat their customer service though. They're always the best. Prices are just a little outlandish, you know? Yeah, the car is pretty much back together. A few more mounts, a few more plugs, put the wheels on. You know, blow the lines out, drain the fluid, put the new fluid in, and we'll see if she fires up.
So everything seems to be going great at this point. We're definitely still in budget. We found all the parts we needed, but there's one main issue with the whole situation, and that is the control arms, and more specifically the control arm bolt. This bolt goes into the control arms, and if you look closely, if it'll actually focus, yep, it's bent. It's bent out of shape, and it would not go back into control arms. So what I had to do was I had to drive 40 minutes out back to import salvage yard to find a replacement bolt. What I really wanted to do was find the bolt that actually went into the original control arms of the Q7.
All right, so I'm literally looking for a needle in a haystack right now. This bolt goes into one of the control arms, holds them together, and I'm trying to find a one for this S5 in the import salvage yard. There's no bolts in this one, and there's a lot of bolts like this, like the ones on the ground here, but none of them match up perfectly to the same like size and design. So if we find it, it'll be a miracle.
So after I couldn't find the bolt at the import salvage yard, I drove 40 minutes to the nearest Audi dealership where I found, or where they provided me with a bolt for, I believe, $10 or so. And it was too late at this point to finish the installation, so I had to wait till the next day. And while this part may not be a crazy expensive component or anything like that, is the fact that it pushed the project back by 1 day. And I did not mention this before, but I was actually going to college, I believe, 3 days after it's supposed to be completed. So the clock was really ticking at this point in time. But I keep this bolt around just memorabilia, because just one little bolt pushed my project back by a whole day. Ridiculous. So at this point, we're finally getting the transmission drained. We're putting new fluids in the filter and things like that. And you can actually see with the pan off, that's the Mechtronic, that whole silver outlining piece right there that's sitting in there. This is the component that was missing from the original transmission. And for those of you who may not know about the DSG transmissions in Mechtronics, the Mechtronic is prone to failure. Pretty much it's unable to pump fluid to the transmission to provide proper gear shifts. And that was probably the main reason why the first transmission was missing that component. They probably got the card, took the Mechtronic out in hopes of replacing it, but the costs all around was just too expensive, so they probably just kind of decided to send it to the auction, where a lucky person will buy it thinking it has minor damage and mechanical issues. And if you take a look here, this is the old transmission, completely empty, no Mectronic in sight. All right, so the transmission is in. Got the transmission fluid in, and I'm just sitting in the car waiting for the green light to start the car up. And this is like a make or break moment. Like this is it. The car is prepped and primed and ready to go. We put the brakes on, wheels on. This car is leaving this shop today no matter what. So hopefully it's under its own power. Just another recap of how beautiful the interior is. I haven't seen the interior of this car. I haven't seen the interior of this car in a good amount of time. I just gotta say it's absolutely beautiful. Besides the peeling of the steering wheel right here, the chrome paint, everything else in this car is damn near spotless. All the carbon fiber trim just adds so much to the car. Everything's just clean. All the buttons, none of the buttons are faded. All the buttons work. Just a mirror window are cracked, but just minor cosmetic stuff. But the car itself is just so clean. So at this point, my emotions are pretty much through the roof. A lot of money was spent, a lot of time was spent, and I would be heartbroken if anything went wrong at this point. All right, so the car is running. No check engine lights so far. So I didn't actually record the moment the car fired up because it was just too much stress and I couldn't kind of focus. Because at this point, I didn't care about the video. I just cared about getting the car started. So I was locked in, dialed in fully, to make sure that the key went into the ignition properly, my foot was on the brake, and that I did my best to start the car properly, if that makes sense. The first time I put the key into ignition, I hit the button and I heard a tick, tick, tick noise. And at this point, I'm like, wow, the starter is bad or not powerful enough to start the engine. But luckily, Dirk was in the back like, I just need some more power. So he hooked up the battery to the back, tried it again, car fired right up. No terrible sounds. The engine sounded great, as you can see here. Just take a listen. So we tried to put the car in gear. It wouldn't go into gear. We tried to rev the engine. It has the factory safety precaution on the engine, so you can actually rev the engine to hear any cool supercharger noises like I was wanted to hear. But the car ran. The AC worked. The AC worked pretty good, and everything was looking pretty good. I felt great, and we decided to get the tow truck. So at this point, I knew I needed to get a transmission tune to actually sync it with the car, and then I had to get the safety restriction off the engine, also, so I can actually rev the engine and drive the car. So I found online a place called Blair Automotive. They do tuning, so anything you need to get done to a German cars, Audi, BMW, Mercedes. They can actually take care of that. So I called them up and they said, yeah, bring it on in. So I loaded up on a tow truck, and as you see here, I get the first check engine light, which is expected as always. It's, just with the transmission and a lot of things, issues. I was expecting a check engine light when I first started the car. Again, not the end of the world, just have to see what it is. I'm not sure what that light was for at first because I didn't have my OBD2 scanner on me, so I can't tell you what that was for, but I'm sure it was related to the transmission at the time. So I brought the car into Blair Automotive, beautiful facility. I actually met the owner, Eric Blair. He gave me a tour of the facility. It is absolutely massive, beautiful. They had a Audi TT sitting out in the front lobby. Definitely great customer service, great experience. And I also got to check out, he also let me check out this cool Volkswagen Harley Quinn edition. This is a Harley Quinn paint job, super cool. And he explained to me pretty much all the details about the car. And I don't want this video to be too insanely long, but I'm trying to kind of catch you guys up to where everything's at right now. So I took it to Blair Automotive. They later told me that they did the transmission tune, they did the engine tune. You can finally rev the engine in, but what they told me was the car wouldn't drive. Pretty much you put it into gear, the car will roll forward, put your foot on the throttle, and it wouldn't go anywhere. What they found was that the gear selector 2 had malfunction, and this pretty much led to a faulty Mectronic. At this point, it's a $6,000 job, I believe, to get the Mectronic replaced at the bottom Mectronic, and then the labor and everything like that. So things are getting very expensive. I didn't know what to do at this point. Luckily, Luckily, my dad was able to help out with the payment on the getting the new Medtronic in, and they took care of that, slapped the new Medtronic in. So the question is, would it be better to just get a new Medtronic in the first place? Um, in short answer, yes, it would have been. The price does come pretty close in general because with the new transmission, I did have a Medtronic in there, so they were able to take that one out, send it to Audi, where they were able to get a core, what is it? A core return, pretty much. You return the core and they give you a little discount off the top. I think it would have been about $3,000, maybe like $2,000 to $3,000 extra if I didn't have the original Medtronic in there in the first place. And with the new Medtronic they installed in the transmission, it's actually a updated version, so it's less prone to failure than the original Medtronics. And the Medtronic is the main issue with these old DSG transmissions. They are prone to failure. So after they took care of that, the car was, I got a call. At this point, I'm in college, and I get a call from Blair Automotive, and they're telling me that, hey, we just finished test driving your car. It's ready to be picked up. I was sitting like, okay, test drive. And I was surprised because you said, wait, test driving? Like, it's on the road. It's just insane the amount of like happiness I felt at that point. At this point, I'm freaking out. I'm like, wow, the car actually drives. We actually continue the project. It's not, it's like, wow, the engine works pretty good. The transmission seems to work now. Everything is just on the up and up. And I'm in college, so I can't pick up the car. So I have my dad pretty much pick up the car. He gets it from Blair Automotive. We do a few more services of oil change. They had to adjust a fender liner somewhere. My dad picks up the car. It has no side mirrors. It has no license plate. Ball tires. It's pretty much not meant to go on the road, but I mean it drives just fine. So we kind of made it home with no incident. And as you might have guessed, I am currently sitting in the Audi S4, and yes, it's in the driveway, and yes, it got here under its own power, which is very, very exciting. So the main question now is, what's actually left to do on the car? Well, it's a lot. Well, for starters, I need side mirrors on both sides of the vehicle. I need to adjust the rear view mirror. It's actually falling off right now. I need a new windshield, new tires. Need to do a paint touch-up and fix the rear bumper and front bumper. There are multiple rust spots on the car. I need two front grill pieces. I need all new air filters. I need a hood strut. The headliner is also falling. The left radiator fan doesn't work. The vacuum pump is leaking oil. And one of the major concerns is the Audi MMI system is currently non-operative right now. Luckily, I'm back from college, and I will try to address all of these issues to the best of my abilities. So obviously I haven't seen the car run at full capacity. Let's go ahead and check out everything. All right, so keys going in the ignition. Going foot on the brake, and made some noises, but yep, tire pressure, and yep, the hood is open right now. Idles really nicely, and it sounds amazing too. And no warnings on the dash except for the tire light. And it just got to resting idle right there. Now the car does smell like it's running pretty rich. Also, the fuel drains pretty quickly from what I've from my dad told me from driving it from here to back to the house. Take a look at the engine while it's running. Sounds pretty good. If you guys heard the exhaust, there's like a metal sound when the exhaust starts up. I'm not sure what that is. If you know what that metal noise could be, please comment it down in the description below. Help me out. Other than that, the car is absolutely beautiful. Interior is spotless, just minor touch-ups and things like that. Well, all in all, I love being able to sit here, and I'll definitely put it on the road for you soon. Wish I had the music working. We'll address that later. This has been a long time coming to be able to sit here with the car running, the AC blowing in my face. No music yet, but we're gonna work that out. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them down in the comment section. Other than that, thanks for watching.